The announcement by the Education Secretary regarding the rollout of free breakfasts in select primary schools has been met with skepticism from Labour MPs, who question the government's genuine commitment to tackling child poverty. The government is heavily promoting the initiative, framing the introduction of free breakfast clubs in all English primary schools as a pivotal strategy in its broader fight against child poverty. This emphasis comes amidst apparent governmental reluctance to address the estimated £3 billion annual cost associated with lifting the two-child benefit cap, a policy widely considered a significant contributor to child poverty. Extensive research has consistently demonstrated the positive impact of breakfast clubs on children's academic performance, particularly in reading, writing, and mathematics. Improved concentration and focus are frequently cited as key benefits. However, Labour MPs, while expressing strong support for the breakfast club initiative itself, argue that the government's framing of this policy as a significant anti-poverty measure serves as a subtle attempt to desensitize the public to the continued existence of the two-child benefit cap. They perceive a calculated strategy designed to soften public opposition before ultimately rejecting calls for its removal. Signals are emerging suggesting ministers will indeed reject calls to scrap the cap this summer, despite overwhelming consensus amongst experts and charitable organizations that its abolition would be the most effective approach to poverty reduction. Introduced by the Conservative government in 2017, the two-child limit restricts families from claiming child tax credits or universal credit for more than 2 children. This policy has drawn significant criticism, deemed punitive and indefensible by various prominent figures within the Labour Party, and even by some within the Conservative Party. Last July, 7 Labour MPs faced suspension from the Parliamentary Party for voting in favour of scrapping the two-child limit. While ministers have voiced a willingness to consider lifting the cap, they maintain that such a move is contingent upon the availability of sufficient public funds. Labour's general election manifesto from last year included a pledge to allocate £315 million to breakfast clubs in the 2028-29 financial year. However, concerns regarding the sustainability of funding are now surfacing. Several charities have warned that the government's insistence on breakfast clubs lasting at least 30 minutes before school, as opposed to quicker, grab-and-go options or breakfast provision within the classroom, will significantly increase costs, necessitating the employment of additional staff, potentially jeopardizing the long-term viability of the program and raising questions about its effectiveness as a genuine solution to child poverty. The long-term financial implications and the potential for the initiative to become an expensive, yet ultimately ineffective, gesture remain a key point of contention. The debate highlights the complex interplay between political strategy, social welfare, and the practical realities of implementing large-scale social programs, especially within the context of limited public resources and differing political priorities. The government's emphasis on seemingly positive initiatives while maintaining potentially harmful policies continues to fuel the political debate, creating uncertainty around the true extent of the government's commitment to alleviating child poverty. The suspicion remains that the Breakfast Club initiative, while beneficial in itself, might serve as a distraction from addressing the more substantial underlying issues driving child poverty. This leaves many questioning whether the government's actions truly reflect a genuine desire to alleviate poverty, or if it's simply a carefully constructed narrative designed to maintain a positive public image while avoiding difficult and potentially costly policy changes. The implications extend far beyond the immediate provision of free breakfasts, touching upon the core principles of social justice and the effectiveness of government policy in tackling systemic inequalities. The lack of transparency regarding long-term funding and the continued adherence to the two-child benefit cap raise serious doubts about the government's commitment to a comprehensive approach to child poverty reduction, leaving many to wonder if the Free Breakfasts initiative is merely a symbolic gesture rather than a genuine solution. The potential for the program to become a costly, yet ultimately ineffective measure further exacerbates these concerns, highlighting the need for a more holistic and strategically sound approach to addressing child poverty in the UK. The overall narrative raises profound questions about the government's priorities, the true cost of political expediency, and the long-term consequences of failing to adequately address the root causes of social inequality.